Welcome back, everybody. Wanted to do a season preview for the Florida Panthers today. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am 100% on this bandwagon. Florida is awesome. I love this team. I know a lot of people don't like this team. I know a lot of people think that the way they play is this and that. I think this team's awesome. I think they're going to win the cup again. I will absolutely die on that hill. I think this team is so well put together from top down. And I'm making this after I make my Ranger season preview for 25-26. And it's like, this is the polar opposite of the way the Rangers are constructed. And it's like, you look at their forward group. This forward group, granted, they're actually they need to make a change because they're over the cap right now, and a lot of people are saying it's probably going to be Evan Rodriguez that goes, which will hurt because Rodriguez is a really important part for their team, but it's Florida, and they're probably going to find a way to replace him and be fine because it's Florida, it's what they do. But you look at their, that center depth. Barkov, Bennett, Lundell, and Nosek is so... It's just perfect. That's perfect center depth. Like, that's literally a GM's dream center depth. Like, I look at this center depth, and I'm like... And I think back to the Rangers, and the Rangers had... I'm not going to make... I promise I'm not going to make this all about the Rangers. I just want to show you guys how the difference, at least. Make it more clear. The Rangers had... Miller, Trocheck, Zibanejad. It was a Carrick. And you put that against Barkov, Bennett, Lundell, and Nosek. This center depth that they have, it's like... It reminds me of when Pittsburgh had Crosby, Malkin, and Stahl. And then I don't know who their 4C was, but I think he was probably a pretty good player. I don't know who their 4C was, but it didn't matter. But the fact that Florida has Barkov, Bennett, and Lundell, and their 4C is Nosek, who's a really good player. That's a great fourth line center. Like it's perfect. That's perfect center depth. This team, in terms of prediction, this team's back in the playoffs 100%. Like, there's no... If Florida misses, they're drunk or something. I don't know. Because there's literally no reason for this team to miss the playoffs. When you look at their wings, you got Verhaeghe, Rodriguez, Luostarinen, or Luostarinen, I don't know how to... I always mess up his name. And Greer. It works. It works. Because if you look at their left wing and you think, okay, is that like a top tier wing, like left wing group? No, not at all. But it works on Florida. And the reason the center depth is so important, you always hear people talking about center depth, you need good centers, right? You need good centers. It's because those elite good centers will make everybody else around them even better. Right, so when you look at Luostarinen and you're like, okay, well, is he like that good of a defenseman, or not defenseman, forward, left winger? Maybe not. Like, you put him in a different situation, maybe, but he's with Lundell, and Lundell is phenomenal, and he's only going to get better. And Marchand's still there. I'll get to the right wingers too, but like that, and now Rodriguez is going to go, so we got to see what they're going to do about that. But no matter who they put there, it's like you have good enough center depth, and not great center depth, that will make any winger better. I'm interested to see how Verhaeghe performs. I don't know. He's great in the playoffs. Regular season can be a little bit of an adventure for him. Sometimes he's had some good seasons, some other seasons, not so much. But again, it's Florida. It doesn't matter as long as they make it in, right? So all they're thinking is like, how do we get back in? That's all we care about. If you're Florida, like, we just gotta get back in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. They don't need home ice. They don't even need home ice. They just showed that. We don't need home ice. Who cares? We'll beat you wherever we play you. And then right wing, they have Reinhardt, Tkachuk, Marchand, and Gadjevich. And I mean, that's elite right wing group. Elite. So that may any you want to be like, the left wing group, maybe it's not going to be so strong, especially because Rodriguez is going. Those right wings are so good. So that you basically two out of every three players on your line on your lines are elite players, basically. Because you got Reinhardt, Barkov, Kachuk, Bennett, Marchand, Lundell. That's like you put anybody with them, and they're fine, and they're good, and the guys that they have are good that are with them. So it's like this team forward group, and Gadjevich is great on the fourth line. Their fourth line is solid. It's as solid as they come. This forward group, no problem. Doesn't matter if they're losing Rodriguez. Doesn't matter. And on defense, obviously, it's basically the same except for Schmidt leaving and Petrie coming in. And it actually kind of works because Petrie's a right. I think this might actually help them because they had 4 left-handed defensemen, I believe, when they won the cup, because Schmidt's lefty, Kulikov, Mikula, Forsman. Yeah, so they only had Ekblad and Jones as right, and now Petrie comes in, he's a right-handed defense. So this Petrie coming in on defense might actually be good for them, which is crazy. It might help them even more. Obviously, it is a bit of a gamble at 37, but you really put anybody in that lineup, and it's like they just work. They fit like a glove. So, yeah, their defense is elite, man. I had Forsling, Ekblad, Jones, Mikula, Kulikov, Petrie, like that perfect. This team, and forget, like, this team looked great when they went to the final and lost to Vegas. I think it made people, like, it made me aware. I'm like, this team, they're really well constructed. They have a real, like, the top down. And now all these guys come back on bargain contracts. It's like you got Bobrovsky and net, obviously, 36, but he's playing peak. He's playing peak level hockey. This is the best hockey he's ever played. And Tarasov's the backup. So we'll see what he's capable of. But Bobrovsky has shown that he's good enough on his own. So it's really hard. Like a lot of people will probably say Florida can win a third cup. I don't think it's a crazy take, but it's very hard to actually do it, right? Because a lot of people thought Pittsburgh could do it when they went back-to-back 2016-17. A lot of people thought Tampa could do it back-to-back 2021, and they made it to the final in 22, but they lost to Colorado. It's very hard to get that third one in a row. And if there's any team that can do it, it's this team. This team, with Maurice as the coach, the group of players basically all stay together. You're only losing Schmidt and probably Rodriguez. Why not? Why not? This is as good of a team, and the way that they play, and like they're not gonna change. They're not gonna change. That's the thing about Florida. It's like exactly what's coming. You know that once they get into the playoffs this coming year, that they're going to turn that switch on again, and they're going to go right back. They're going to come right back to their game. And there's going to be ebbs and flows throughout the season, and people are going to doubt them, and they're probably going to go on a little losing streak. Oh, is Florida as good? I think they're just as good. I think they're going to be even better because now they're going in next year. They're going to be even more confident. They're like, no, we're not. We didn't just. It wasn't a one-off. Like, we did this twice. And we still got the whole this group. We've all shown that we can win, and why not? I love the way this team is built. This has been one of my favorite champions to watch. In my time watching, I've been watching hockey since 2005, 2006. So it's my actually 20th season, right? This would be 20th season, I think. Definitely 20 years. But I've seen a lot of Stanley Cup champions. A lot of them that I've enjoyed watching. Even the back-to-back runs with Tampa and Pittsburgh, this team is different. This team, whether or not they do it, whether or not they win a third cup in a row, we'll see. I think they can. I think they will. But even if they don't, I really do think this is like one of the best teams we've seen in the Cap era. I think this is the best team we've seen in the Cap era. It's just like this is as good of a roster as you can get. And I hope that more teams start to be able to build like this because the cap is going up. But, Florida got lucky because a lot of those guys just, they liked what was going on. And obviously people bring up the whole, state tax thing and everything. But this is just a team that's like, that knows exactly the situation that they're in and that it's rare. Like, you don't get teams like this every year, every generation. Like, it doesn't happen, right? Again, even the teams that went back to back, like Pittsburgh, they went on their runs, but they weren't like this. I mean, a lot of people, there was still I guess there was a mystique around Pittsburgh for a little while because of Crosby mainly, but this team, I don't know, man. I've never felt any like this about any team that I've seen at least play. And finally, and I saw an Anaheim Ducks team that was unreal in 2007. I'm probably gonna make a video about ranking maybe the Cup champs from 2000 on. Even though I didn't get to watch the earlier ones, I've watched enough of the footage and all that, and the highlights and everything, and I know enough about those teams. But I saw Anaheim, and Anaheim was probably, up until this team, I think Anaheim in 07 was to me at least, even with the Chicago teams, I think Anaheim had this feel to it, at least for me. When they made that run, but they only made one run. This thing, Anaheim only won one cup. This team's won two. This team's won two, and they look like they can win a third. But Anaheim was so dominant, and that the way that roster was built, it was nuts. Pronger, Niedermeyer, and Solani, and Young, Getzlaff, and Perry. That was stupid. The stupid roster that they had, but in a good way. Other than that, I don't really think there's been. Again, there's been great teams in the Cap era. Chicago, a lot of people will make the argument for Chicago and LA. I don't think LA was as dominant, at least in 2014. 2012 was a crazy run, but 2014 they were not dominant. They found ways to win, which is admirable, and you won the cup, so whatever. I don't know, nobody can take that from you, but this is a dominant team, and they just showed that in this Stanley Cup playoffs. This is a dominant team. I don't know what they're going to do in the season. They're probably going to finish. I wouldn't be surprised if the team just finishes in a wild card or something. Honestly, I would not be surprised, just because they're who cares if we, or where we finish. I mean, it doesn't matter. We just need to get in. All right, wild card, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if the team finishes wild card. They could finish first in the division too. They could finish, if they want, they could finish first in the league, but they don't care. They don't care. But anyway, my prediction is this team, this should be the Stanley Cup champion again. It should. This third year is they're really, this is your chance. You want to be a real dynasty, not that modern era dynasty that people attribute, the Blackhawks, and even sometimes people say the Kings, but Kings only won two. Back-to-back is different from three. So the Blackhawks are really the only one in this modern era that Pittsburgh too, but Pittsburgh was separate as well. People usually don't put Pittsburgh in the argument because the 09 and 16 ones were too far away, but Chicago's usually the argument that people will make in this day and age about modern day dynasty, but this can be a legit dynasty. This should be a legit dynasty. They should win the cup this year. Because nobody in the league has done enough to match this. Nobody. Just in terms of off-season and how, granted, could a team overperform, but whoever you put against this team in a 7-game series, you can't. And I didn't think Florida, I was skeptical that they were going to have the ability to turn it on like they did. And I took Tampa in the first round. I took Tampa because I a lot of people were like, they kind of limped into the playoffs, and then they did that. So I'm not going to make that mistake again and count this team out. I think it's stupid. I think they're clearly, there's something about this team that you have to respect, whether or not you like them. Because again, I know a lot of people don't like this team. I like them. I think they're nuts. They play mean, and there's a reason why people don't like them. But regardless of whether you like them or not, you have to respect them. You have to. And I respect them fully for what they did, how they did it. And it was, this year was dominant. Dominant. Tampa wasn't close. Toronto tried. They had their moments, but when Florida went like that, that was it. Done. Wasn't close. After those first two games that Toronto was up 2-0, wasn't close. Like, even okay, Toronto won game 6 and gave them hope, wasn't close. It wasn't. Like, which is nuts because Toronto, honestly, I like Toronto this year. I thought Toronto could have done it, especially when they went up 2-0. Again, I was like, oh man, this Toronto team might get through. And then Florida just said, nope, not happening. And Carolina, that wasn't close. And Edmonton wasn't close. Even though, they had their moments, they had some overtimes, Edmonton wasn't close. It wasn't. None of the, no team ever, sincerely put it in, at least for Florida, maybe outsiders are looking in, okay, they're down 2-0 to Toronto, they're struggling a little bit here and there, but it's like this team just knew, they're like, we don't care until the series is over, we're in control. That's the attitude that this team has. It is, right? And people be like, "Are you fucking, you're glazing them, whatever?" And it's like, I know what I just watched, right? And I don't see anybody beating this right now. I don't know how. Who? If Edmonton couldn't do it with McDavid and Draisaitl, I don't know who the heck is going to beat this team. Because Vegas ain't the Vegas from 2 years ago. That's not happening. Dallas, is Dallas gonna? I don't think so. I think Dallas is in a bit of a limbo, and that's been a team that's right there. I would say maybe Colorado, but Colorado's not deep enough. They don't have a deep enough roster. They couldn't even get out of the first round. Tampa is showing signs that they're kind of going in the other direction from where they were a few years ago. Toronto, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect from Toronto this year with no Marner. I have no clue what to expect from them. Marner or not, I don't think Toronto's beating Florida. I don't think that's happening. I don't think a lot of people are going to make that bet, right? Who else is really left? Who else is hanging with this team? Who else? I don't know. Who else came out? It was Edmonton, Dallas in the conference final, and Carolina. I mean, you want to argue Carolina? Are we really gonna, knowing Carolina now is probably gonna lose in the second round this year. They're probably not even gonna make it back to the conference final where they've continued to struggle. So Carolina's probably gonna make it to the second round and lose, and somebody else is gonna get into the what is Jersey gonna make it? Is Jersey beating this? Jersey? With Hughes? No. You know what Barkov's gonna eat as lunch. You kidding me? There is no. I don't see. Maybe some of you guys do. Maybe some of you guys think your team can get it done. I watched it happen. I'm a Ranger fan, and I watched this team dismantle us when we lost them in was it 20? It was last year, right? It was 24. Yeah, it was 24. So their cup last year, and just dismantled them. And I thought at the time, I was like, oh, we can beat them. No. Not this year, at least. Maybe next year things change, different, and off seasons are going to be a little bit crazier because of the UFA class for 26 is nuts, and I don't know how many of those players are going to make it to UFA. I think a lot of teams are going to sign certain players by that point, but there's going to be some interesting movement, especially with the cap and everything, and teams can kind of restructure things a little bit. But this offseason, nobody has restructured their team in a way that I look at them and I'd be like, okay, this team is going to be able to hang with Florida. This team might win the cup. I don't see it. I don't see anybody hanging with this right now. Just my humble opinion, of course. I mean, you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm betting on, I don't bet anymore, but if I had a dog in this fight, I would say right now, today, and not just today, but come Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, Olympic break, trade deadline, right before the playoffs, this is the team. As long as they make it, which they should, there's no reason this team should not make it. This is the Stanley Cup. This is, to me, the Stanley Cup champion. Like, and it's very hard to say that with confidence. I mean, how often do people call it and say this team is going to be able to do this? And people are constantly changing their opinions, especially during the season because of how the season's playing out and who's playing well, who's not playing well. This team showed that the regular season, and a lot of people will say that, be like, the season doesn't matter. There's teams that can turn it on. There's not a lot of teams that can do that. There's not a lot of teams that can do that. A lot of people say that teams can do that, but not a lot of teams can do it. This is a team that can and just did that. So, to me, this is 26 Cup champ. I'll die on that hill. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Obviously, I'm very... I have my opinions about Florida. I think that this is like... I haven't seen a team like that. Like, this is why I'm talking about them like this, because I haven't seen... I've been watching hockey for 20 years, and I've never seen a team like this, even with the great teams that we've seen, Colorado in 22, Tampa back-to-back, Pittsburgh back-to-back, Chicago dynasties. This team is different. It feels different. It does. So, and I don't think anybody's hanging with them right now. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.